Hello and welcome to this week's episode of MT2, Minerva's 2-minute tactics for your procurement, where this week I want to talk about feedback. They say feedback is a gift, although some bidders, particularly unsuccessful ones in your procurement processes, may not necessarily see it that way. But the tactic this week is around how that feedback is delivered. And I refer to a case which, if you're working in procurement in schools, is a really good case to have a look at, because there's some really great learning points in there about how you run your procurement processes, and particularly around the standstill period and the feedback that you provide to bidders. And that case is Bromcom Computers versus United Learning. And the key takeaway that I want to get across to you today around feedback is that in this instance, United Learning provided the feedback to Bromcom Computers, who had been unsuccessful with their bid. They didn't provide sufficient feedback in the standstill letter. And so Bromcom asked for additional feedback as a result of that. And that feedback was provided orally via two Teams meetings. Now, by all accounts, these Teams meetings were quite fraught. There were some technical difficulties with one of the meetings, and for another meeting, people were talking over each other. And so a judge ruled in this case that actually they couldn't have been expected, Bromcom Computers, to have really understood and evaluated the feedback that they were being provided as a result of these oral meetings. Subsequently, 3 weeks after the oral meetings, then United Learning did provide written feedback to Bromcom Computers, and that's the point at which they then decided to take legal action. Now, my key point here is, ideally, you should provide feedback to the bidders in writing. It should be clear, and it should talk about the relative advantages and characteristics of the winning bid, and that's really important to do. I would, if at all possible, avoid providing feedback to bidders verbally for all the reasons that I've just talked about. And you can find out more about the reasons by reviewing that case. So it is really important that you provide robust feedback to unsuccessful bidders, and ideally that is done in writing. So that's my tactic for this week. Until next time, soldier on.